the fans in the front row, when she goes down into the crowd, they are almost part of the stage. Hello, you are tuned in with Big Pink Energy, who is me. Maybe you're here for a chat about pop culture, music news or gossip, but I think really you're here because secretly you're in love with me. Let's just admit it. We're here for Starstruck Season 2. We've done a full 8 episodes of the podcast already and now we're on to the next set, so I thought it'd be nice to take the opportunity to take a few weeks off recording and just come back with new energy, new vibes, renewed kind of sense of purpose. I hope you haven't missed me too much while I've been away. Obviously I've still been quite active on TikTok and Twitter and everywhere else, so it's not been like a complete hiatus, but just the podcast itself. Yeah, I've had a little bit of a pause, but we're back now. I've missed talking, so I couldn't resist kind of being away for too long. So here we are. As you've seen from the title, this episode is all about the controversy around Lady Gaga's Vanish Into You moments with fans during her Mayhem Ball tour. And I feel like I've seen everyone, sharing their opinions online. Everyone's got a lot to say about this, so I may as well chime in, right? I don't know if my opinions are maybe the same as some of you. I feel like people maybe have clicked on this video hoping for me to like drag people. I think maybe people have clicked on this video already kind of defensive because maybe you're watching this and you've had your vinyl signed or something and you're expecting that I'm gonna be very scathing towards you or something. Don't worry, I feel like I've hopefully as usual got a fairly level sense of opinion on this that hopefully will just bring us all back together in harmony. Before we get started, I have had some technical difficulties recording this episode, which has meant that I've had to record this through multiple takes and I've had to stitch them together from 2 different recording sessions. So apologies if the change in lighting, if there's a change in sound, apologies if that does negatively impact your viewing or watching experience. I hope it's not too distracting and I'm thankful that you're here anyway. Let's get into it. So, Vanish Into You at the Mayhem Ball tour. If you haven't seen, for context, during this song, Lady Gaga's going into the crowd and having interactions with fans during this song. The tour fan interaction thing is not new for Gaga, right? She's been doing this since the beginning. Maybe not the Monster Ball, but definitely from the Born This Way Ball is when fans started being invited on stage. She would pick out people in the crowd and meet them after the show and things like that. So the Born This Way Ball was, 2012? So this is like 13 years of Gaga doing things directly with people in the crowd, individuals in the crowd getting to have a moment with Lady Gaga. For the art rave, she also had people join her on stage. Enigma, she would read letters. The Joanne tour, she would read a letter. Look, all of this stuff has kind of been happening for years. So if you've been around for a long time, you know that when you go to a Gaga show, you, apart from the Chromatica Ball, if you're lucky, you might get to have a moment with Gaga. And that's amazing, but it can also cause competition between fans. And I think sometimes it does create a bit of a negative environment when, maybe you build your hopes up in your head of something happening before you go to a show where you kind of expect it. And I think what we're seeing generally, not just with Lady Gaga fans, but at the minute, I think, I don't know what to put it down to. I would maybe put it down to TikTok just making everybody more accessible generally. But there isn't really sometimes as much kind of basic human respect for people as there used to be. So, I'm talking about the fan that tried to grab Billie Eilish recently. I'm talking about Charlie XCX making a surprise appearance at Lord's tour and seeing the way fans were just grabbing her as she was going through the crowd. I remember when I was at a Lana Del Rey show once years ago and she came down the front and someone was trying to grab her hair. Like, people just get quite odd about celebrities and there really is this kind of thinking in like an entitlement to touch them and grab them in some way that I don't think anyone would really enjoy. And when we have people speak out against it, like Chapel Roan, then they're called a diva or they're called ungrateful for their fans, and I think that's just kind of an unfair takeaway from what they're actually trying to say about the situation. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is This has been a routine of Lady Gaga's for years. She's always been having kind of individual interactions with people in the crowd, making someone's dreams come true, and it's been almost like a ritual. It's been very, very clear that she values the relationship she has with us, and maybe at times it's felt distanced, but she still loves us. And I think that's kind of what Mayhem is coming back to. She obviously didn't have that kind of moment during the Chromatica Ball where she would pick out fans and have moments with them. She went through the crowd during Free Women, but no one was really kind of having like a being on stage with Lady Gaga moment in the way that they had in other tours. So I think what I'm trying to say is she's grown up and obviously feels differently about fame as she did 20 years ago. But still, I think Mayhem is like her reconnecting back with us again, this era. Like, she felt super, super close with us, almost parasocially during Art Pop, I would say. And leading up to Art Pop, we were very, very close to Gaga, I think. You know, she would be tweeting us all the time, or we had the Little Monsters website where she would be in chat rooms with us, or, as I say, having people on stage. And I think after Art Pop, that was so traumatic. That's when I think the friction with the fans started, is when, you know, instead of giving us tons of music videos as she promised, she decided to go off and make a jazz album. And then she did Joanne, and it wasn't the pop music we were expecting it to be. The fans were really upset. You know, she cancelled half of the Joanne tour, you know, and then Chromatica, some people didn't connect with that. I don't understand why. I'll defend Chromatica until the day I die, you guys know this, but, you know, there definitely was a bit of friction there. And I think, you know, the 5'2" documentary where you're seeing her perspective and you've got just paparazzi and cameras and fans grabbing her, and she says, I go from people talking at me all day and touching me all day, and then everyone goes home and I'm alone in my mansion. Like, it's, okay, it's maybe not the most relatable experience for us. Maybe it does sound a bit like first world problems because, you know, the plus side of that is she does get to live in a mansion. I think essentially just her experiences have made her relationship to her fans a bit of a roller coaster and a bit of an ever-changing journey. However, Mayhem has been a turning point because she has been doing all the fan service for this era. Most people have managed to get a signed version of Mayhem. She's done a lot of signed copies, art prints and things that you can buy on her website. She's toured countries that she hasn't been to in years. Like, I don't think she was in Mexico City since the Monster Ball, for example. So that's a really long time. She went back to Brazil. She did Singapore. Like, she's going to all of these places that she hasn't been in such a long time. It's an era where whether it's getting a like from Gaga on TikTok or a comment or, you know, being able to actually attend a show, as many fans as possible for this era are having some kind of connection with Gaga this time. And I think Vanish Into You, the performance at the Mayhem Ball tour, where she's walking down past the barricade of fans and some people are getting to give her gifts and some people are getting a signed vinyl, whatever it is, I think that's her way to continue Mayhem being, you know, a bit of a thank you and a comeback, a reconciliation between Gaga and the fans, because it's been a long time since it's felt like she was close with us like this. I mean, even if you just look at where Vanish is in the set list, you know, it comes after the segment of surprise songs, which again is like fan service. Dance in the Dark on piano in 2025, that's doing fan service. Hair on piano, like all of these songs that like we haven't heard, Speechless, in years and years and years, doing like piano versions of them just for us, like 1 or 2 times, that's fan service. So it really is about us. So Vanish Into You comes directly after that segment and directly before the final act, which I've spoken about so much, but I'll briefly touch on it again. Bad Romance is the eternal aria of the Monster Heart, which means it's our song, hers and ours as fans, forever. Because not only is it arguably her biggest single, it is all about the weirdness and how we embraced her for that. So that's why it's her and our song forever, and that's why she says monsters never die. You know, the lyrics to Bad Romance have got horror themes in them. It's you know, She's listing the Hitchcock movies. The choreography has all the monster paws in it. It's her in our song, and it's, you know, it's a song that everyone knows. The world knows her for Bad Romance, but we know her differently through Bad Romance, if that makes sense. So Vanish Into You being where it is in the set list between that moment of Bad Romance and just after kind of the fan service piano section is very, very intentional. And I've seen a lot of people kind of suggesting what Gaga needs to do for Vanish Into You going forward is either stop going into the crowd or change direction and go down the other side of the catwalk, or, you know, it would be so easy if she just did this, just did that. I really think, knowing Gaga, she's so intentional and so well rehearsed. I think I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't want to change the way she's doing it, even if she's having difficulties with how kind of demanding fans are being when she does go down into the crowd. I can imagine it's just, you know, she'll go down, but maybe she stops signing things or she stops accepting gifts or whatever it is. But I think what people aren't understanding is that Lady Gaga going where she does during the Vanish Into You performance is just as much part of a show as her choreography, her like very, very strict timings for the rest of the show, right? Abracadabra, that whole first act is so well rehearsed. It's so meticulous. It's so well planned. It's so intentional. Every movement, every, you know, part of that performance is so thorough in how it's been executed. I think what some people are failing to realise is that Vanish Into You is just as much of kind of a planned piece as the rest of the songs on the tour. So I would actually argue that the fans in the front row, when she goes down into the crowd, they are almost part of the stage at that point, because the performance of her interacting with everybody during Vanish Into You, that is the performance piece, you know? And I think the other thing that's really great about it, and I think I've spoken about this before too, is that being able to go and sign some autographs and accept some gifts while she's performing, it's a really nice way for her to still have that fan interaction but with a boundary. So she's not going in and like, where she's had people come on stage before, maybe there is no way to vet these people, right? They've written her a letter. She's picked a letter at random from the ground, read it and invited them to come up on stage with her. There's no way that she can then go, actually, I think you're going to make me uncomfortable. So in front of a whole arena of people, she's not going to say, no, you're not coming on stage. Or if she does invite someone on stage and they start acting crazy or something, there's no way for her really to kind of say, you know what, I'm out. I don't think she feels like she can say that. So the benefit of her just going down along the front row and signing things is that, you know, if she doesn't want to do something, she can just carry on walking, and it's part of her timings of having to be where she needs to be for the performance, you know? So I think that's the pro of how she's doing Vanish Into You, is people are still getting that moment with her, people are still having a real connection with her, she can still carry on with the show, and she can walk away from anything that doesn't feel right. And she does, you'll see. There's videos of, you know, where it has gotten chaotic and she's just moved away from it. Also, don't forget that Vanish Into You is happening after she's done that speech around how she'll still be performing and touring in 20 years' time. That speech that she keeps repeating, it's almost like the new, there could be 100 people in the room. She keeps saying, you know, if I'm still here in 20 years, I'm going to come back sooner than 20 years, but will you come to my show? And everyone obviously screams and says, yes, we will. I think all of this is just a really well-crafted love letter to us and our relationship with her. And I just really hope that people understand that and sit in that and acknowledge that. It's a shame that some people are acting so kind of entitled during Vanish Into You, but she's doing this because she really wants to give back directly to us. It feels like her heart is very full this era, and she's kind of finally feels like she has it all. She has the love of her life, she has fame, she has the ability to perform and put on an incredible show, and she has the fans. And, you know, for the first time it feels like there's a lot of harmony within her own life. So I think we owe it to Gaga to be as respectful as possible when she comes physically very close to us, and just try and keep it together and be nice to everyone around you. I think that's the least really we should be doing, you know? I've been to shows where the energy has been quite aggressive because everybody is trying to get Gaga to see them or notice them, or just, not even Gaga, but just, I've been to shows where the energy's been off, and it definitely impacts your overall experience more than you think it should. It is just, I can't stress enough how nice it is when you're in a good environment with good fans around you, how much more you enjoy the show. I think there's definitely a bit of an issue at the minute where people going to these shows and looking to get things like signed, or looking for selfies, or looking for whatever it is, whatever that interaction is, there's definitely, I've spoken about this before, I'm absolutely sure I have, but there is this kind of main character syndrome where, you know, in that moment, Lady Gaga is there to do a job. She is there to perform. You have paid for a ticket to go to the show, see the show, and go home. That's what you've given your money for. So even if your ticket is for a certain area, even if you have an early entry ticket and you get the barrier, you're not entitled to anything else other than seeing a good show and going home again. And I think the problem is people have become, and I don't know if it's because of TikTok and social media just kind of taking these little lucky moments people have and making it seem like it's a normal thing. I don't know what has driven it, but people are feeling that these kinds of moments are entitled to them. And I don't think that's the case, and I don't think you should ever think that way. I ruined my own experience at the Born This Way ball because that's when Gaga was like meeting fans after the show, taking people backstage, and I saw it happen so much online that I thought when I was going to the Born This Way ball it was happening to me, and it didn't. And instead of like focusing on the amazing show that I just watched, I was so hung up about this experience I'd built up in my head happening, which then never happened, that I felt like I ruined that for myself, you know? So my advice is really for everyone to kind of stop thinking that in that moment when they're at a show that it is all about you, because it's not. You're there to see a performance, the performer is doing their job, and you are there to be in the audience. It is not for you to have your special moment and have some sort of interaction with the performer that, you know, validates you in some way. If it happens, you're very lucky, and it's not the norm. That's what I think needs to be kind of focused on. It's not normal to just be sort of, I'm going to go to a show and the performer's going to interact with me, and I don't like that mentality, and I feel like that's what a lot of people now have, is that kind of mentality. I think it's also important to remember that to the performer you are a stranger, and even if you've met her 10 times or something, the dynamic is still that they are a celebrity and you are a fan, and that will always be that way, pretty much. In very, very rare circumstances, maybe it won't be that one day, but 99.99999% of interactions between a celebrity and their fans is always going to be with that dynamic. So the celebrity, the performer, doesn't know you. And even if you've met them a couple of times, even if you've had conversations with them, even if they message you on social media, even if they comment on your pictures, they still don't really know you. And even if they do know you, they know you as their fan. And I think that's what's important to remember is, you know, we're all strangers at the end of the day. We're connected through music, but we are still strangers. And I think you just need to maybe lower your expectations of what you're going to get out of an interaction like that or an experience like that, because Gaga's there to sing a song. And some people have a lucky moment during that song, but really that's what she's there to do. You are there to be in the audience and applaud and sing along and be respectful and give off good energy, because that's what she likes. I think you'll notice in those examples I gave earlier, as soon as there's mess in the crowd, she walks away. When there's that video of her signing a vinyl and someone is sliding theirs on top while she's got one already in her hand that she's signing, that person slides theirs on top, she walks away. She doesn't like it. She's spoken before about how the phones and stuff are triggering, but maybe if you're a new fan, maybe if you haven't been to a show before, what you haven't maybe seen up close is that she really does not like that kind of chaotic energy. And the more of that there is, the worse these experiences are going to kind of become for everybody, not just for, you know, the ones that are acting out, but everybody kind of loses out because of a couple of crazy people, you know. I'm actually seeing that the Mayhem Ball is in Milan tonight in Italy, and apparently security is going along the barricade and taking people's flowers and vinyls and gifts off of them. When I was in Toronto, actually, we saw security at the door taking people's vinyls away from them and saying you can't bring that into the venue. Obviously people still got in with them, but it's interesting to see that apparently they're actually enforcing it at the barricade now. I have to respect it. I really feel like the energy at Coachella, obviously I don't want to sound totally privileged and like, you know, I don't want to sound like a dick, but when I was at Coachella, it was the first time she did this, so obviously no one was there with stuff for her to sign because no one thought she would do it. The dynamic there, the energy there was really, really good. She was, you know, running along and dancing with people. I think she might have taken one or two selfies, but really nobody was there to be like grabbing and getting a piece of her. It was just to kind of enjoy being down there in the energy in the crowd with the fans, and I feel like that's maybe what she wants to go back to. It was already messy before Europe, don't get me wrong, like it was heading this way already, but I do think, I don't know, for me, I would rather, listen, Gaga didn't stop at me at Coachella. She was singing and she had her hand out like this and a couple of us got high fives. Two of my fingers touched two of her fingers like this. It's not as if I had this like amazing moment where she grabbed me and looked into my eyes and we sang together. It was nothing like that, but it was still amazing. I still feel like, you know, so lucky to be there, so lucky that that happened. It was really nice. I would still kind of take that over like her being all frantic and just scribbling and a signature for me and having to move on. And you know, you can see when she's performing it now, it feels like she's kind of trying to track, like I've got this, I've got that to do, and then I'm here and then I'm there, and she's, you know, still singing, still performing. I feel like it's just nicer to feel the energy of the moment. It would be nice if maybe before she sings the song she kind of says, I'd really appreciate it if you put your phones away and just dance with me. I feel like something like that would be a nice thing for her to maybe set the tone. But I do think she has trouble kind of setting barriers with us. I mean, the main example I can think of is the 5'2" documentary when she did the Netflix film during the Joanne era. It showed kind of from her perspective what it's like walking out of her hotel or walking out in public where there's paparazzi and there's fans. And that chaos, I think they captured that really, really well, because from her perspective, it just looks anxiety inducing. You've got like camera flashes, you've got people grabbing you, you've got people calling your name, you've got people crying, you've got people shouting at you. It just looks so overwhelming, and I can understand why she doesn't like putting herself in that situation. And I don't know if you remember, there was one fan that kept calling her mummy, going, "Mommy, mommy." And it's like, first of all, what the hell? But, you know, everyone on Twitter then, sort of rightfully so, I mean, people do take it too far, but people were kind of like, who on earth is that girl and why is she doing that? And then I think Gaga felt uncomfortable that she had almost inadvertently singled out this fan to kind of take the brunt of what is the actions of a lot of people. She's just part of the problem, you know. She contributes to that issue of Gaga not feeling sort of humanised, but she's not the main issue or like the sole perpetrator of that behaviour. So I think she definitely felt uncomfortable with like this girl being sort of scapegoated, and she spoke out and sort of said something along the lines of, I probably should find the actual quote for you guys, "Not everybody kind of understands the bond that I have with my fans. We're very close," and basically sort of said like we shouldn't be jumping on this girl and making her feel bad for how she acted, because not everybody gets our dynamic. And I get why Gaga would feel like she has to jump in and defend this girl, but I also kind of just wish she didn't. Because the thing is, as much as we do love her and people maybe don't understand our dynamic, I think the takeaway message still should have been that that kind of behaviour just isn't okay. There needs to be a boundary here. I always think of 5'2" in these situations, and I think Gaga definitely feels uncomfortable telling us, like, please don't. I think I would love her to say before Vanish Into You, and I don't think there would be a problem with her saying before Vanish Into You, please put your phones away, enjoy this moment with me, and let's dance. I don't think she would feel comfortable saying that, because I've noticed when she does talk about her frustrations with being famous, it's never targeted at us specifically, it's generally being famous and people generally treating her. It's not, my fans do this to me and that upsets me. She would never, ever, ever say anything like that. And I think that's the issue. I feel like maybe she should. I think she would be within her right to say, I don't like when people touch me, or I don't like when people grab me. You know, I think that should be a fair thing for her to say, but I just feel like in her head she can't be so direct in that way. So yeah, I don't know what's next. It'll be interesting to see after sort of the Milan, Italy show what happens tonight, but I think she probably just misses that energy from the earlier shows when people weren't turning up with things for her to sign and shoving things in her arms for her to take away. But yeah, I think Gaga definitely feeds off of what energy there is in the crowd. I mean, a story back in my day, this is me showing my age again, but I remember at some of the art rave shows in the UK, there was a group of us that were, during Gypsy, during the last song, we would hold hands and dance around in a circle together. It was very cutesy. Gaga saw us, and we weren't doing it so she would see, but she sort of was singing and she saw us and she loved it, and she was like jumping on stage and pointing at all of us that were kind of dancing around in a circle like this. I think that's really what she wants to see. If you are going to the Mayhem Ball and you are, you know, in the crowd, whether you're at the barrier or not, I think that's really what she loves to see. She loves to see people just enjoying themselves and taking it in. I don't think she loves the sea of phones, and I don't think she loves being given tons of stuff to sign. I feel like she thinks she has to do it because, you know, it's a very rare opportunity for people to meet Gaga nowadays. So I think she does feel obliged to kind of give us something back, but I also do think if she could choose, she would just go down there and give high fives and jump around with people. I really think that's what she would do. I think what was also quite nice when I talk about good energy at shows, I always think of the Chromatica Ball in Paris, which I know there's a vlog on this channel of that show. I think what was good about the Chromatica Ball was, because she wasn't really doing any fan interactions then, obviously she came down into the crowd during Free Woman, but nobody was getting selfies, nobody was getting hugs and kisses and stuff. It was really just to be close to her. Because nobody was showing up to the show with that expectation, the energy was really good. It was just nice. It wasn't so competitive, it wasn't so aggressive. But yeah, I've definitely been in crowds that feel quite competitive and aggressive for Gaga's attention, and it does make it less fun, I'm sorry, it really does. I really think you can set the tone before a show. If everybody kind of leading up to that moment while you're waiting for her to come on stage, if everybody around you is feeling good, it makes a huge difference. It really does. And I think what I've been thinking about is the solve for all of this. If we're finding that people are being disrespectful, what is the answer? Because everybody is loving Red Bandana Girl for beating up that guy that grabbed Billie Eilish. How do I feel about responding with violence? I've seen a lot of people say, like, if they were in the position where somebody is putting a vinyl in their face, they would just grab the vinyl and throw it, or they would punch them, or they would do this, or they would do that. Here's the thing. If you're in that situation and you do something in response, you are potentially escalating that situation. Gaga can then sense there's some kind of commotion happening. She doesn't like that. That is very uncomfortable for her. So nobody wins in that situation. If you retaliate, if you just let it happen, it's kind of like nobody wins. I do think, though, there is something to be said that some of these people just don't learn without being told. I do think the guy that got beat up by Red Bandana Girl probably is going to think twice when he goes and grabs a celebrity because of what that response was to him doing that. So does violence work? Is it appropriate? I'm a pacifist, but I can't tell you it's not the right response at the same time. It's an uncomfortable one. Self-defense, if somebody is putting something in my face, I'm not standing for that. My advice, if you're worried about being at the barrier, because I've seen people say, like, all of a sudden I'm worried about these shows I've got coming up because I think people are going to be crazy. Something that really helped me. I met Lana Del Rey during the Paradise tour, and that was what, 2012 maybe? How old would I have been? I would have been 14 or 15, somewhere around there. I was really, really young, and I met her before the show at the stage door. And I remember I had never seen a celebrity that I really loved before in real life so up close, and her car was pulling up and she was about to get out of the car, and I felt like I was going to freak out. I just felt like, I didn't know, was I going to scream? Was I going to cry? What was I going to do? I was so excited because I loved her music and I thought she was amazing. I thought she was beautiful, and to see her in person and maybe meet her, that is insanity to me. So I'm about to freak out. There's a fan behind me who I think had met her several times, as there always are at these things. And she yelled out, and thank God she did, yelled out as Lana Del Rey was about to get out of the car, "Don't freak out and scream, she doesn't like it." And I felt as if whatever kind of hysteria was building up inside of me, I just like quashed it. It just was then like dampened, and I just held it together. Whatever I was feeling, I just kind of got my shit together. Ended up having a lovely experience meeting Lana Del Rey. Say what you will about her. I have my opinions that people won't like about Lana Del Rey, but I will say her fan interactions are 10 out of 10. Truly, truly, like a best in class celebrity for like meeting fans, honestly. That's why if I ever see like an interaction of her where she's like being rude to somebody, I know she was not in the wrong. Like, if you've pissed Lana Del Rey off, that's you. That really is you, because she is a lovely, lovely person with fans. But what I'm saying is, whoever that fan was behind me who yelled out, "Don't freak out," that made me like control what was going on in my head, and I ended up having a better experience, because I don't think if I'd have met Lana Del Rey like blubbering, crying, screaming, hysterical, as an adult now, that's definitely something I would look back on and feel embarrassed about, but I don't think I would have had as nice an experience, because you want to meet the person you're meeting at their level, right? So I don't know if like when you're in the crowd at the Mayhem Ball, you're at the barrier, you're waiting for Vanish Into You, or it's maybe before the show even starts, all the fans who are sort of stood around you are going to be the same people. I don't know if it's something you can try and set the tone there then in person and just say, look, when Vanish Into You happens, Gaga doesn't like it when people are crazy. She doesn't, like, if people start acting out and pushing, she's going to run away. I don't know if that'll work. Maybe that's me being too optimistic, but I do think it, for me at least, having that knowledge that like I could potentially freak out somebody I really admire by not keeping my behaviour in check, that like properly changed the interaction I had. I don't know, maybe that advice helps other people. Something I find like super, super interesting is, and I think this is also coming back to why like Gaga has a hard time saying to us that, you know, like I think she struggles to set boundaries with fans, and I think it's because she did ultimately manifest this level of fame. I don't know if you remember back in sort of 2008, 2009, there is a quote of her. I'm going to Google it. She said, "I want to bring back the superfan. I want the image to be so strong that fans will want to eat and sip and lick every part of us." So she, I think she honestly must feel like she kind of manifested what she has now, because she did when she was in 2007, 2008, just coming up, she did really manifest her career. She was like, I'm going to be famous, I'm going to act as if I'm a star, and this is going to come true for me, and it did. And I think that superfan concept was totally part of what she did, because if you remember, you know, she was curating her fan base. She was going and performing in gay clubs. She was really calling out LGBT fans, like strongly calling them out as people that she recognised, as people that felt like her community. She constantly said everything she did was for the gay community. She curated her fan base, and she then made them want her so intensely, just like that quote. She almost wrote out what was going to happen and then just did it. So I do think she probably feels responsible for her fans being almost so rabid now, because she kind of manifested it. I think the problem is you've got fans from the beginning, like me and like some of you watching, that understand that that is the person she was back then, and she's been on a journey since then, and she's not that person anymore. She's still the same, but she's been through a lot, and she's changed her perspective on things because we've been on that journey with her. I think what's difficult is you get newer fans and you get fans with less experience, and again, I don't want to sound patronising when I say this, but you get fans that maybe don't understand the concept of her going on that journey. But yeah, I definitely think she probably feels like she can't say, can you guys chill with grabbing me? Can you guys chill with trying to take selfies with me? Can you guys chill with calling me mummy? She probably feels like she can't say that because she knows the reason why we are so crazy about her is because that's the way she wanted it to be back then, and then it happened. I also think there is something to be said for, like, I've seen this theory before a lot as well, that COVID has changed the way people act at concerts. Morris wants to be part of this episode, I'm sorry. But yeah, I've seen people saying that post-COVID, people don't know how to act at concerts anymore. And I do think there is something in that. And I don't know if it's just like a difference in generation, again, a lack of experience. I don't know what it is, but people are just different. The sea of phones has been a problem for, I think, a few years now. I don't think that's new, but definitely like just people like freaking out, being quite hysterical, people not really respecting each other. Just, yeah, like basic human respect sometimes feels like it's completely absent. I think it was Rico Nasty or somebody, they were opening for, I think, Playboy Carti, and she was disrespected so badly on stage that it like almost put her off performing. Like, I think people were heckling her, they were throwing things at her on stage. Remember, who was it? Was it Steve Lacy? Someone threw a phone at him and he like got really angry. People just nowadays at concerts are just acting out, and I don't think it's okay. I don't know. People are saying it's been post-COVID. I don't know if it is that or if this behaviour has always kind of happened and we just see it more now because of social media, but there's definitely like, when you go to these events, you do realise, God, there are people out here that just don't know how to act, and it is disappointing, and it can affect your experience, but you kind of just have to do your best to not let it affect you, I suppose. I don't really have any other advice other than what I've already said. If you are second, third row at a Lady Gaga show and you're seeing that the people in the front row are getting interactions, if you want to be there that badly, you should have just gotten there earlier. And I know not everybody can queue, and I know not everybody can camp, and I know everybody has jobs, and I know everybody has commitments and various things, but ultimately, for the most part, people at the front row of shows have gotten there because they got there before you. So if you wanted to be there, you should have put more effort in to get there, like truly. And listen, I work full-time. I have a full-time job. I have a house. I have responsibilities. If I'm prioritising being front row, if I'm prioritising going to a concert point blank, I will make it happen, because there is things like time off. There is things like planning in advance. It's not as if you found out today the concert is happening. If you really want to dedicate time to being at the front, you need to put the work in, and you need to respect the people who got there before you. Truly. You can't be third row, second row, and decide that you are more entitled to having your moment than the person stood in front of you because they've gotten there before you. It's just basic kind of logic at this point, you know? So I think that's something really that, I don't know if people just aren't understanding that or what, but yeah, it's a shame. It is a shame. Anyway, this has been a bit of a messy kind of rant of an episode, I suppose. I hope there's been some kind of useful insight somewhere for you to take away. I do think it's tricky. I wish Gaga would just feel comfortable with saying, hey, I don't like it when you guys do this, or hey, I wish, you know, we could have this moment without the phones, without, you know, she could easily say something, and I think she just feels bad saying it. She could easily say, I'm so grateful for all of your gifts. However, I would love to just be in the moment with you for this one song. I don't think there should be a problem with that. I think she feels too uncomfortable to say it. If this video, you know, my videos don't often find their way to Gaga, but if this one does, I hope that's the main takeaway that she hears, is that she's well within her right to say, I would like to be in the moment with you just for this one song. If you could put the phones down, put the Sharpies down and just dance with me and have a fun moment, I think she would have a better time, and I think the fans would have a better time. The problem is, you're never going to please everybody. There's always going to be somebody complaining. Somebody is going to be unhappy. If she stops doing it entirely, somebody's going to be unhappy. If she changes the side, she's been doing the same side of the stage consistently throughout the tour. If she decides to switch it up and go the other side, somebody's going to be unhappy. People are going to be upset. People are going to complain no matter what she does. So there's an element of that too, which I think, you know, must be quite difficult. When you're in her position, you know, touring is physically and mentally demanding. From what I've heard, artists that go on tour, the entire tour crew at some point gets very sick, because it is just such physically and mentally demanding work to be travelling, performing, you know, whatever it is, packing up the stage, dancing, whatever it is your role is on that, to just be on tour. Everybody at some point, from what I've heard, gets sick because it's just, yeah, your immune system is like really put through it. So there's that. I'm sure there's many, many shows Gaga's performed or the dancers have performed and they've been feeling awful and we don't know because the show must go on. I'm sure that is happening on the Mayhem Ball tour even still, even as happy and, you know, joyful as she seems on stage. I'm sure she's had like sick days where she's had to perform. She's already doing so much. I think it's not necessary to expect that everybody gets like a tailor-made moment where she comes to you, looks into your eyes, signs your vinyl, kisses you on the cheek and goes and, you know, it's just an unrealistic expectation. I think what she's there to do, what you've paid your ticket for, is to see a performance, to enjoy that and go home. I'm sorry. Not everybody wants to hear it, but I do think, yeah, just like shifting your expectations of what happens at a concert maybe is beneficial. And it's not shade, it's not me trying to say that I'm better than anybody else because I'm not one of the people stood with a massive vinyl and a Sharpie. I don't think I'm better than anybody else, but I do think that I just maybe have context that other people maybe don't, because not everybody has been here from the beginning, or not everybody has seen her in concert before, or maybe you've only ever been in crowds maybe that are negative, or maybe you've only ever been in crowds that are positive. I'm just here to share my opinions. As you know, I have one more Mayhem show left. It'll be interesting to see what's happening with this Vanish Into You situation tonight in Italy, and I'll let you know how it goes when I'm in Belgium. Starstruck podcast is officially back. I think I did new episodes around every 2 weeks-ish last time, and I think that's kind of what I'm aiming for again with this series. So as always, let me know if you have any ideas or special guests you want me to get in touch with. I've planned most of it, but there's still a couple of spots open for episode ideas and things to be kind of swapped out if I see something that you guys really want me to talk about, or whatever it is, just let me know. Oh, and quickly, do we think Gaga's coming back to Europe? I'm kind of hoping she will next year. I know that's crazy, delusional of me, but I would love to see the show again next year. I feel like kind of in denial that I only have one show left, but I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I've been talking a lot and my voice is starting to... I'm not used to it. It's been a while since I've done these long sit down and talk videos, guys. Oh, and I have a live stream this month. What day? What day did I put my live stream at? I am going live on October 26th. Yeah, be there or be square. I'm going to be sewing my final Mayhem Ball outfit. I need to order all the materials for that still, but yeah, I'll talk to you then. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Sorry, I'm supposed to be like professional content creator now and say all of those things and I always forget, but subscribe if you haven't already. Put your notifications on for new content and all of that stuff. If you're on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, if you're on Twitter, I'm Big Pink Energy everywhere, so you'll find me quite easily. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Best wishes and kisses. Bye bye bye.